Right. Great Britain covers with pressure-sensitive package labels supplied by the United States Post Office. I now have a fifth example, which I couldn't find in order to update the presentation. So the examples I have are from between 1977 and 1984. My interest, of course, is that I collect GB rates. And would it be Mary Ann Owens, I think, who said in the context of topicals, but a lot of what she said in the context of topicals had applications in other areas. You really need to explain everything that's on the cover. So this is a label that I needed to explain. The first one, D on a pink label, D stands for direct, which means it's the same 5-digit zip code.
What do you mean when you say same five-digit zip code? Same as what?
Oh, this is a package sticker. So all the letters in this package. This is sorting done by the US Post Office.
I see.
So all the letters in this package would be to the same zip code. And then it would have an elastic band wrapped around it. And if you look hard enough, you can find the standard that there's a standard for the elasticity of the elastic bands to be used by the post office. There's also a suggestion that they not be put on philatelic first day covers because that might ruin them. So seeing one of these on philatelic, when they say philatelic mail, they mean things like first day covers and that sort of things. And the rate for the cover, because it goes into a postal history exhibit, 11 pence for up to 10 grams to what was called Zone B in the later parlance, because paragraph 1, subparagraph 3 was a little bit tedious, and the rates to Germany, Poland, and Iceland became the standard all-up European rate. So you just needed 3 zones after that for the overseas, the British overseas zones.
Would there be enough mail to a single, I mean, this would all be going a whole envelope or a whole stack of envelopes with an elastic band around them to qualify for the reduced rate of 11p?
No, there was no reduced rate here. That's the thing that I think confused Tony W. He figured that he'd seen them mainly on US internal mail that was from bulk mailers who did get a reduced rate. Later on, there'll be a US Post Office document which clearly implies they were in use earlier internally within the US Post Office and replaced what were called routing slip or package slips or routing slips, which were also wrapped around a bunch of covers and wrapped with elastic bands and sent in the mail.
I recognize those labels. I remember seeing them all the time on US mail during that time period, for sure.
This one, the C marking in yellow is to the same city, and it has more than one zip code, and I've checked the zip code list, and yes, in fact, I think Vienna had about 11 zip codes. And that's also the same, it's the same postal rate, but it's a different label. This is actually a different service. This is printed paper from much the same period. 10.5 pence for 10 to 20 grams. 7 pence for up to 10 grams. This is the second step rate. It's unsealed. It's from a large, there's a lot of the mousy mail that's on the market. I've got quite a bit of it. And S means that it's all to the same state. And there's a hierarchy of how you sort these things, which is written up in extensively boring detail in the US postal publications. And then this is a later style of it it's a new label shape for the same city. And if we talk about the 2 round labels, they're slightly different diameters. So I think that makes them type 1, type 2. And there's information about the rates there. 150 Swift Air, 28 pence for the first 10 grams, 14 pence for the next 10 grams, £1.92 postage. Swift Air to the US. Swift Air isn't seen all that often. And what we do see, especially in Canada, is usually Ultra One address where there's a huge hoard of it. So getting some to a different address is less usual, shall we say. So this is only the tip of the iceberg. They exist in at least 6 styles with more letters and numbers. There's a 3 label. I think it was green, and I think that's the one that I have got a copy of, some 5th copy of somewhere that I got since 2022, but can't find right now. F is interesting in that it's all business mail to the same firm. MX is mixed, meaning that it's what's left over when everything else has been sorted out. And the U is for mail that doesn't have zip codes on it. So I'll show evidence in a later slide, quote from a US postal bulletin, that the labels were used internally. There's a later note from 75 saying they're available to bulk mailers, and that the pre-sort discounts for bulk mailers started slightly later. And not all the authors agree that on the US internal use, but I think the evidence that I have is compelling. And the fact that the 2 proponents who say they were used internally are alive, and the one who said it wasn't is dead, also helps the argument. So many employers are not complying with the new labeling procedure, and I won't read the rest of it because it gets kind of dull. I will say that USPostalBulletins.com is work of Tony W. and others, so it's a really good source. And I've quoted the entire little note from the bulletin. So that's December of 74, so they're obviously in use earlier if the bureaucrats have time to complain about it in December. December of 75, they're now available in quantities for use by volume mailers. Another notice about incorrect labeling. Oh, and they still have these facing slips that they could use if there wasn't an appropriate label. So that was another. I think I searched through for pressure sensitive in the postal guides. So these were 3 examples which showed use up at least up until 78. So references, Gitlow and the American Philatelist, which, well, that's before I joined the APS. The 2 latest Tony W. postal history books. The further insights is the one where he says, I've got all of these I've got a number of covers from foreign destinations, but they weren't getting a pre-sort discount, so why were they using the labels? So my conclusion is that no, the US Post Office was using them, and occasionally a foreign cover happened to be the top one on the package, and it got the label. John Hodgson said that he thought that was a reasonable interpretation as well. And that's the end.